Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unnamed and Untamed. Today, we are going to be talking about something that's near and dear to our hearts, which is going to be boundaries. We actually just recorded an episode on this in a little bit of a different facet, but I think that this is going to be really important, especially going into the holiday season with families, kids, even friends, when it comes to what you want your outcome to be coming into the new year. Because understanding that these holidays are going to come around year after year, and this is an opportunity for us to either create some boundaries that we're wanting our future to look like, or even hone in on the ones that we've been practicing. So let's start it off with talking about our week, tucking on a lesson or a win or what have you. Sonia, I will let you kick off whatever's going on in your life over there.
Going first because I'm always like,
what happened
last week? Geez. Okay, wins and lessons. I think, how about this? It's definitely that time of year where like things slow down with clients coming on board. And I have more clients that are like missing check-ins, and then like, oh, I didn't really do anything this week, just kind of like not lollygagging, but like, oh, I didn't really know changes this week, but I didn't really track anything, and I didn't really, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, well, that's the reason we're not seeing progress. They're like, I'm motivated by progress. It's like, I think that there's this misconception that you're not going to make progress if you're in maintenance. And it's like, your body can very well change, especially if you are not at your like, quote unquote, like potential. I guess here's what I'm trying to say. I wish that people would take a building and health phase as seriously as they took a dieting phase.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very easy to be super on your shit when you're dieting and you're like, oh yeah, the scale's going down. But when it's your off season and it's like, it's just as important to build muscle. And we're like going for like, I've got people going like for nationals, and it's like, oh, well, I didn't really track this week. But I know I'm not overeating. And it's like, no, great. We need you eating more. Like, we need your caps to come in. We need your glutes to come in, And there's that like, oh, now I'm missing check-ins. And it's like, okay. And then there's that talk where it's like, okay, well, what about shows for spring? And it's like, we haven't really progressed in the off season. You've taken time away from the gym, time away from tracking. And I get it. Like, I do a lot of like untracked days. I get that there's like a mundane with tracking, but eating in a surplus to grow your muscles and, actually body building is what's going to take you to the next level on a local level and on a competitive level.
On a life level, like
a life level. And on the same thing with just my lifestyle clients and health clients, I think one of the most important things to remember is most people have a heavy dieting history and a very low maintenance history. And if you were really fucking awesome at maintaining weight, you wouldn't diet that much, but you're not. Chances are you don't know what it looks like to just eat at maintenance and have a healthy, balanced relationship with food. So as your coach, that's where we need to spend the most time. Let's diet, let's get 15 pounds up. And then I want to teach you for a month or two how to maintain that. And then we can go in and diet again. But, it's really important that we just spend, I guess I'm like speaking I'm talking in circles right now. I feel like this week I'm seeing a lot of that, like, well, if I'm not dieting, like I'm I don't want to say half-assing, but I'm half-assing. And then it's like, well, when can we diet again? And it's like, well, we didn't take the proper time we needed to do the things we needed to do with the same intention as I need to push myself to get uncomfortable in this moment. And I need to eat to feed my body, whether that's to heal my body, to heal my adrenals, to build for the next season, to be more competitive, to learn how to maintain my goals, to regulate my blood sugar levels. Like, there's so many things that go on top of it. I just feel like we're only rewarded in the scale and weight loss, and it's just like, it's hard as a coach to kind of keep people going with that. So I guess that's my lesson. I guess I don't know what that was. How about that? That's my rant for the week.
That's our rant. Yeah. That's what we need to change this to. What's the rant and the win?
Yeah, the rant for the week. And I guess it really ties into like the topic at hand of like, how do we help people get through those maintenance times and get through managing that? I think a win this week, babe. What's a win? I'm like, how
I'm
about this?
alive.
Yeah, I'm alive and I'm well. And I had a really good Friendsgiving, and it was a blast.
That looked so good. I don't know whoever, if y'all haven't seen her Instagram picture, like
We did this
that
like
looks like so awesome.
Babe, how do you say it? Charcuterie board. So bad. A charcuterie
Skills.
board party. And I was like, we can't do the same thing as everyone else. Like, it's just not our style. So we did a sleazy cheesy board, and it was like bologna and cheese whiz and Velveeta and like all the best things. And it was a big hit.
Yeah, of
And
course
there
it
were
was.
hundreds of dollars of wasted brie and salami. Everyone bought the same exact thing. There were like 6 of the same
Yeah.
words, same boards. And then there was ours. So I felt a lot better not wasting like $50 in cheese and just like leaving a little bit of Velveeta cut up. So that was a win. What about you guys?
Yeah. Sarah, I'll let you go, then I'll go.
I feel like a win this week. I'll do a personal win. I second everything you said, Sonia, though. I mean, that's like, I feel like a constant lesson, and it's like knowing when to be hard on people and not, but it is hard. And I would say a win for me this week was kind of coaching my husband a little bit, low key. So we started a new habit together where he woke up with me at 5:45 and we go to the gym together first thing. Because I was trying to help him, one, get his workouts in, and then two, get up, be on a better sleep wake cycle, because he was going to the gym at like 7:30 p.m.
Oh,
and then his
I
sleep
remember
schedule,
those days.
yeah, so like his sleep schedule was all fucked. And like I get it, like it was easier for him to go after work, but I was like, let's go like first thing together, and then we both have the accountability of going, first thing in the morning. So that's been off to a successful start. So that was a win. A loss is I just realized that I tried putting retinol on my neck, and it is like freaking not happy about it.
Yeah, you're really red, my friend.
Yeah, so that is a definite loss that I just realized.
Did you do that before you trained?
I did this like earlier this week. Like I put retinol on, and I think sweating, my skin is not a fan.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So my esthetician's gonna be pissed, but oh well.
Okay. So let me think here. So I think that my rant for the week, I think that this is going to be a great podcast for it because I'm right in line with Sonia. I'll summarize, what she said. I'm so tired of caring more about people than they care about themselves, because I really want it so bad for them. And this is the season. This is the time where I see so many people fall like through the cracks that they're creating themselves, self-sabotaging, and then it's like that, it feeds the vicious cycle of, oh, then I gotta diet, and like I'm like, no, like let's just make it an actual life style. Not that you can't have fun, not that you can't have untracked meals. Like, ugh. So anyway, we'll get into all that. So that's my rant for the week. My win is I'm gonna say personal win is my training right now. Is for me. I'm not the strongest human in the world. But Sarah, I'm coming for your squat. Just saying.
Sarah, what's your squat at?
that was an old picture that I posted.
Well, it was epic, and like form is perfect. So
that was I think that was 135 or 145, but I haven't had squats in for a little bit.
Well, she's strong as hell, that's for sure. So that's my win for the week. Is it? I was progressing pretty fast with strength, and then just recently kind of took a little bit of not a dip, but just, I guess, a pause. And so we're just kind of changing things up, and I'm learning that I really enjoy pauses. So like pause squats, pause even like
Yes.
with like belted squat, like bench press, like, and so for here again, that just gives me time. It gives me time to really kind of feel things out and not rush through. So I'm a little bit of a thoughtful lifter. So that's my win for the week is I had a really good training session. Actually, Sonia and I were talking right before this, and Sarah, about how often we train. And we all three said, I mean, we like to move. Movement is one thing, but then actual physical training, like lifting, all of us are pretty good at 3 to 4 days a week. Like, because I think that we actually know how to lift and we're, being really efficient in our lifting. And the rest is just, yeah, like moving around, getting steps in, things like that. We don't need to be in the gym doing, weight training 7 days a week. So that's my win.
Lifts and my form are 100% better and stronger.
Yeah.
And it's maximum effort when I get in there and I do it. Then I notice when I'm doing like even 4 or 5 days a week, I just physically, like, all of a sudden my weights are going down, my energy is going down, my recovery is going down. And I think that those days of like 5-6 days in the gym are just like null and void, and the science and the data, which we're both about, tells us otherwise as well.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into this episode, guys. We want to talk, and we touched a little bit about our rant on the boundaries, but I think what we want to talk about in this episode, and we're going to rant, of course, is how to not be a person of our rant and how to perhaps implement some boundaries, what this can actually look like, and quote the balance that everybody is looking for. And when this comes not just for holidays, but when it comes to you having to fuel yourself one way, maybe your kids, aren't into that, and how that might look. And I know, Sonia, you can talk about this like for sure when it comes to, she is a single mom and she has someone who's under the age of 10, right? So she's not like a teenager, can't make her own food. Although, oh no, I think she can probably do some things. So how do you navigate that? Like how how do you navigate that? Like I know, and that's probably evolves, like probably what you used to do and now.
So I'd say like one of the things to like really keep in mind with boundaries, like with kids and parenting and dieting, is like if you don't know internally, like, and reflect a little bit on like what those boundaries are going to be with like with food in general, right? It's really hard to then set those boundaries with people, right? If you want other people to accept and respect your boundaries, you have to accept and respect and accept them first. Like you have to know where you're at, right? So I would say that everyone, can really just start with like kind of reflecting with what does that look like for them and where did their goals fall into that as well. Because if your goal is to lose weight and the story you're telling yourself is that you have to eat the same meals as your whole family eats because you're not going to cook 2 meals. It's like, well, who's in charge of the meal? Well, I'm in charge of the meal. Well, then I should have full, I am the keeper of that gate. I know, but my family will complain. Okay. Well, then they can make their own food, you know? And it's like, maybe if you have a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, it's like, it's very easy to prep food ahead of time and make food for my daughter and also make food for myself. Chances are you're not just fully eating all the shit that your kids are eating anyways. You're not I don't eat the same things my 6-year-old toddler eats. And if so, either your toddler eats like an adult or you're eating like a kid, which are both on a weird spectrum there, So I think making sure first and foremost that you know what your goals are, and then you're realistic with the story that you're telling yourself in the situation, because I think that's the biggest thing where there's this like almost like lost in translation moment is we tell ourselves a story, which isn't necessarily the truth, but because that's the story we tell ourselves, we limit ourselves, the self-limiting belief.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna ask you, so I have a couple of clients, and the ones who I find that are really a success in integrating what their goals are. Number one, their why is bigger than just a physique goal. And I want to say, like, if you listen to like Sonia talk, whether we're talking about like a fat loss, maintenance, or whatever, like any time of life, that why it is going to be deeper. So I always ask my clients, what is your goal? Why is that your goal? Okay, well, what will change in your life if you achieve that? who will be affected, how will it impact them? And it will always come back to some sort of either your children being there for your lover or your spouse long term. It will always come back to quality of life. Like no matter how, even if it's going to a physique competition, at some point in there, that goal about getting lean is going to come down to wanting to get health at some point, getting a lifestyle. And so I know for a couple of clients, and maybe you can touch on this too, is, I always tell them, bring your kids into it. This is an opportunity for you to influence this young little human to maybe not be in the position that you're in trying to dig yourself out of. This is an opportunity, at 5, 6, even if they're 16 years old, to say, here again, not lecture them, not tell, it's not about good versus bad. It's just about maybe, educating them on different types of foods, and here making it fun, making it exciting, because if they see you, talking about, oh, mommy's fat today, well, then what are you telling them?
Yeah. And if they're seeing you, oh, mommy can't eat that, and mommy can't eat this, and that's not good for you, and that'll make mommy fat, and all this kind of stuff, and I'm counting calories and all this. Yeah, that is going to create an impact on your kid's life in a negative manner. But again, the story you're telling yourself in the situation, the narrative needs to be rewritten. I get to educate my kid on foods that fuel their body. What is mommy doing? My kid genuinely believes, well, one, she thinks if I weigh myself, I'm taking my temperature, which is awesome. She genuinely believes that I weigh and measure my food to make sure that I'm getting the right amount of vitamins and minerals and proteins I need from my food. And she knows that our plate should have a color to feed our buggies, a protein to feed our muscles, and a sweet treat to feed our souls or something like that. We've come up with systems where it's genuinely planning out food and how her plate is set up. Most of the time it's okay, she has a yogurt and she has berries and maybe a little bit of a protein bar and some goldfish. And we've gone over this is energy for our body and this is fuel for our body. And we get to eat colors and how they affect our body. And so there's no back off with my kid. And my kid has seen me stage lean through prep. You know what I mean? It's and she knows that to be true. So I have a lot of clients that are I don't want to see my kid see me count calories. And it's well, your kid doesn't know you're counting calories unless you're telling your kid. Then if your kid is old enough to be aware of that kind of stuff, then your kid is old enough to be aware that you are not in a healthy place.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. You're counting calories.
I'm trying to be healthier. Yeah. It doesn't have to be about weight loss. I want to feel better. I want to have more energy throughout the day. Mommy wants to feel like I have enough energy to play with you. I want to be able to show up for you guys. I'm exhausted when I get home. And it's a lot of times it's the stuff that I'm eating. And imagine how that feels even for a high schooler. The stuff I'm eating is making me really tired. And I want to be able to show up and do homework with you. Okay. It's not an obsession about weight loss now. It's literally about fueling our body for production and energy. And you know what? They might see you eating healthier too and want to jump on board, because if somebody's oh, this makes me feel great, I kind of want to feel great too, and there's a lot of kids in sports and all that kind of stuff. So educating them, learning how to fuel your body, and then being able to educate your kid for gymnastics and soccer and how to eat to perform. That's money right there. It's just about changing your mindset and the narrative that you're telling yourself about the reasons why you quote unquote can't make something happen. Yeah. It's a bullshit story. And you will always find a bullshit story to co-sign the things that you're not comfortable doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's changing the narrative. Here again, you're in the position right now, the position that a lot of people are in, it is a negative position. However, the things that we do don't have to be negative or don't have to be viewed negative to come out of that. And here again, that's all mindset. That's all what you're telling yourself. If you think that this is, eating whole foods versus, Kit Kat bars is, restriction, well, then here again, you're going to feel restricted. It might be flipping it into here again, it's not restriction, it's just restraint. And then again, what is going to fuel your body better? It's not just about, the calories, but I totally agree with you. I think that bringing family in, not hiding what's going on, but here again, making sure that you have flipped the script and it's not a negative thing you're doing, because when you hire a coach and you're working with a coach, this is a positive thing. It's a positive thing for a change. And so creating a negative outlook on that, it's not going to help that. And it's not going to help those or influence those around you in a positive way, especially kids. Kids, I feel like they're parrots a lot. And if we start saying that, oh, this is gross, or oh, this is bad, well, they start parroting that and they start picking up on your opinions of things. And I think that, I know with us as adults now, if I could go back, being in high school and start fueling my body better, oh my God, like I would be in, just in a whole different position, like the kids that are actually, eating good lunches and not skipping lunch and only having like, a half a bagel for breakfast and then chewing gum all day because they didn't want to have people see them eat, at the lunch. I think that's huge. It would be really nice to, change that.
And with obesity rates in children being a true epidemic and on rising, and rising constantly, and if we think about that, our fat cells in our body, this is crazy. They're not just there when we're born. They're being developed and they multiply between the ages of, I think, 4 and 12, right? Is kind of what science says, like in that range. That is our almost like our metabolic set point during that time. So those are the most vital years for you to help your child be the healthiest version of themselves by fueling their body for energy, by making sure they're getting in plenty of sleep, by making sure they're not eating a bunch of processed foods, for the simple fact of you are setting up their metabolic set point for their entire life.
Yeah.
That is the amount of fat cells you have. Now they will swell and they will contract, like as we gain and lose weight. But if you're somebody who is overweight as a child, you will struggle even more as an adult. I was an overweight child. My dad had eating disorder behavior on his side of the family and my mom on her side of the family. And then both of my parents were slightly like obsessive compulsive about like chronically dieting and then overeating. So it'd be like that very much like Weight Watchers Monday through Friday and then get as much crap in as you can Saturday and Sunday. So we had this overeating behavior and we were overweight as kids, and you can see it's different trying to lose that weight and keep it off as an adult. It's a little bit more of a struggle.
Yeah.
And so if you go into this with that mindset of, I have the chance to break the pattern for my child that they may have to struggle with later on and to educate them around food, again, it changes the narrative. It's just kind of like another thing I see, and I know I'm like on a little rant right now, is when people are like, oh, well, my husband will just complain the whole time. Well, sit Tom down and say, hey, Tom, I don't like having sex because I don't feel comfortable in my body. I don't even like having sex with the lights on, let alone I don't feel comfortable being naked with you. Because this is where a lot of women are when they get to me. I don't feel comfortable. I feel uncomfortable in my skin. I don't feel like I want to feel really good again. Can you be on my team? Because I want to feel really good about the way that I look naked. Yeah. I want to feel good in my clothes. I want to feel confident again. I want to have my groove back. You think your partner is going to be like, I don't want you to be happy?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's just about how you word it. Because if I go to Tom and I say, I'm doing another diet and I can't have this and I can't have that, Tom's like, well, that's no fun.
Yeah. Why does your coach say that? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, changing that narrative.
What have y'all ever had clients that have come to you, and what do you all say when you have a client that says, hey, listen, my boyfriend or spouse, they show me they love me with food. They, bring home my favorite chocolate. They bring home, or we have to have, this meal out every week, things like that. Like, what do you talk to your clients about? I know for my clients, I say, this is kind of like what you just said about the sex thing. I say, hey, let's talk about showing you ways they love you without food. We don't need food as a reward system. It can be, we can enjoy it. It can be, community, but right now, perhaps we need to build that relationship. And I don't think that them showing you they love you by maybe sabotaging you with something that you have no control over is a good thing right now.
Yeah. I think like when it first happens, back to what we were saying, like, don't be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you brought me that, I'm dieting, or like some stupid, like, drama queen shit like that. Like, say, like, thank you. Like, hey, I might like really like, spread these out over the course of these next couple weeks if it's something like a chocolate. And, I'm trying to, kind of improve, for myself, and like, like spending like quality time, like going for a walk together, like after dinner, like would be really like meaningful for me. Like something like that, something that, your love language, like what are some of your love languages that aren't, um, I guess food isn't really a love language technically if you take your quiz. But if it's something like acts of service, or gifts, like what are some things, that are more conducive to, your lifestyle and make you feel good, like really feel good. Not just in the moment, but long term that, you guys can do either for each other or together.
Cooking a meal together. So like if you're looking for that like intimate connection time too, because sometimes people really enjoy the eating out because your phone is down and you're sitting here.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're at home, it's kind of like you're more like on your phone, you're watching TV, you're up your like it's less connected. There are these really badass cards. Ace Metaphor makes them. There's a couple different companies that make them, but they're called conversation starters for couples and relationships, newly dating, in long-term relationships. And they ask really good, thought-provoking questions to help you feel super connected outside of in a sexual way with your partner. So like that's one way to do it. Cooking a meal together. That's another way to do it. Going to see a movie together. Great. They've got the drink machines, a diet pop, whatever you want to do. Awesome. And I know there's coaches that are like diet pop and diet whatever. It's like, okay, we'll save that for someone else.
Pick our poison.
Big
Yeah.
and little fucks. Like
Yeah.
if we look at the context, if this person is trying to have longevity, it is a bigger thing that we find something where they feel like they can live their life and they're getting a lot out of life and they're not restricted in the things that they can do, than whether or not they're taking in 4 grams of aspartame and or sucralose in a sitting. It's like such a little fuck on the scheme of things, especially if we want our clients, which I do, to not need me one day and to feel like they have the tools they need to maintain their goals.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate, what I want as a coach is like, I obviously like the income's great. But like it means the most when I get my messages from my clients and they're like, I didn't track all weekend and I ate to fuel my body and I made great choices and I feel super good about them.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I went out to eat and I had a couple bites of cake and it was pretty good, but I knew the cake would always be there. Awesome.
Yeah.
I ate half my macaroni at dinner.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. We are winning. Like these are major wins because it takes us out of that mindset of like, I'm either good or bad. If I'm good, I'm all the way good. If I'm bad, I'm getting it all out of my system, getting all that now. It's like, that doesn't really work out. That's not a long-term solution for anything. It's like, I didn't do good at work. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm not working for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
See if I answer any emails. It's like, that's not how life works.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will be taking one step forward and one step backward. Oh, I didn't do good in my meeting, so fuck it. I'm not going to a meeting for the rest of this month. It's like, well, don't expect the raise.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys ever have clients coming to you like expressing like that spouses or family members are like not happy with them measuring their food, whether that be like food scale or like measuring cups? I feel like I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And usually like my response is, hey, like present it to them, kind of back to what we were saying earlier. This is so I make sure I eat enough.
Yes.
Like, and that's usually how I like to explain it. I mean, that's how I explain it to other people because it's true.
I tend to undereat. I want to make sure I'm getting enough fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. Or like, I want to make sure I'm not skimping out on my protein, that kind of thing. And I mean, you could even frame it as like, hey, I'm learning how to do this for myself now, because most of my clients, I don't expect you to be using a food scale for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
Like, do you, if you want to, like, I use a food scale for 95% of things, but, yeah, it's a learning opportunity. So like even bringing them into it, again, not in a, like, look how much you're eating kind of way, but like, hey, let me show you kind of thing.
I think it's a moment to empower people. I always tell people we can't manage what we're not measuring. And if anything, I do believe in getting people to the point where we can start having untracked meals. And what I think is the win is when I see the paradigm shift from like an untracked meal being this blowout, this YOLO last supper, and then all of a sudden I see it being a normal fucking meal.
Or
It's a
you're
normal,
like, I didn't really feel like I needed to this week.
yeah.
It's, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, like, so this is a meal I had. It was untracked, but it's literally what I normally make. I just really wanted it. I was like, that's exactly the point. That is
Yeah.
exactly the point. And so I'm right there with you, Sarah. I always tell my clients, I'm like, measuring most of my clients, it's so they're not under eating protein, especially. Can't tell you the number of intakes that I've done recently, and people, yeah, they're at 1900 calories. They're literally, I'm not even shitting you, they're eating 40 grams of protein a day, which I don't even know how it's possible, but I do, because the people who actually track macros, like, how is it possible to 1900 calories and only like 40 grams of protein? I was like, well, number one, we have to think about food quality. Okay, let's think about that. But when someone's eating like 40 to 60 grams of protein a day, like, number one, that is not a complete protein source.
Yeah. Let me tell you too, I'll break it down for you really quickly. Avocado toast.
Yeah.
Yogurt with granola and berries, or yogurt parfait.
Perfect.
RX bar.
Yeah.
Then you eat an RX bar.
Yeah.
And then for dinner, you have one of those Hello Fresh meals, 20 grams of protein. There you go. There's 1900 calories and there's 40 grams of protein.
That's like my issue with the healthy, like marketing healthy. Like it's like
high protein and it's like 7 grams. And you're like, okay, this is better. So to get 25 grams, I need to eat 600 calories.
Yeah. So I think I'm right there with you. I use measuring as a tool to make sure that I eat enough. I eat enough of the appropriate things that make me feel well, not just eating the things that I think that I like to have in the moment. And I know that's just accountability for me. And that's what I want for my clients too. I want them to feel good and have periods where they're not tracking. But then again, let's get back to doing that. So we, again, aren't getting down to our habits, which the habits typically for people are under eating or overeating shitty quality food.
The one thing I really started to notice too as a coach, like when I was like, wow, this is where it's at, is when I have clients in maintenance for a long enough time, they stop with today I ate a bunch of cookies and I ate a bunch of this. They're in general, they have less food focus. Yeah. They're not thinking about it. They can take a bite of their cookie and all of their senses and tinglies don't start firing in their entire body. They're not food focused. They're not planning Friday's eat out meal on Monday. They're not obsessing about the menu. They're not looking at like their food focus is gone. Yeah. Because they haven't for the first time in their life been dieting. And that's when you start doing things like, I don't know, I could have a cookie, but it doesn't even sound good right now.
Yeah.
Because you're fed and your body has what it needs. Now, does it mean you're never going to enjoy food? Like, no, not at all. Like, let's be real. You know what I mean? Some of us are just foodies. But it just means that I do notice that when I have clients that have been in maintenance long enough, that food focus and obsession goes away.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to change this a little bit away from food when it comes to boundaries about going to the gym or boundaries about getting your daily activity in, whether that's, getting steps or if you do have some like 2-mile cardio or something like that. When you have clients that not so much talking about maybe work, but maybe so with work, but maybe we have a mom, 2-3 kids and just having trouble making the time or making that priority. What do you tell them? Like, how do you talk them through it as far as creating boundaries around them being allowed to have the time that they should be having for themselves?
Sarah, you want to start this one and I'll go in there?
Yeah. I mean, again, like I try to, I'm not a parent, like I've never had kids. So like, I try to like, kind of keep that in mind with like my advice, but like, I always say, one, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like we can have like one like lifting schedule for the gym. And then we can have like a lot of my clients, especially, after quarantine, have like dumbbells and bands and stuff like that. If we get a 30-minute in, while baby's napping after lunch, like that's great, And then of course, like that conversation about like, taking the time for you, like filling up your cup, like if your husband, like being flexible with your schedule a little bit, like if there's certain times where, because I know like if we're talking baby, maybe you're not bringing them to daycare at the gym, stuff like that. So like, being flexible in your times and knowing that like, doing something is better than nothing. You're just gonna and keeping the momentum. So like, you know, again, if you can't get into the gym one day, like keeping the momentum of and keeping the habit of doing something at home. You know, even, you know, say it's not lifting, say you're just, you know, going for a walk, something like that, you know, with the stroller. I mean, again,
Yeah.
keeping the momentum, keeping the habit, and you're just going to feel so much better doing that.
Yeah. I think just like, you know, where's the data? It's like kids love boundaries, kids love structure. So I'm going to talk about it from a single parent standpoint and from with a significant other. Like if you have a significant other, I think sitting down and planning it out and carving out the time and having those conversations and not just saying, well, they can't do it. That's like not an option. This is a priority for me, and I'm a supporting role for you, and I need you to be a supporting role for me. What is it? What does this look like for us? Does it mean I can, you know, for 30 minutes or for 45 minutes, you get dinner ready or you do bath time while I'm doing this, or in the morning, I can wake up early, you'll get them fed and get them ready for school. I'll come up, take them to school, and then we'll turn off like find a system and work with your significant other and let them know this is what I need from you. This is what I need from you. I need this from you.
Yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed. And it's so hard. Sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience them. I don't want to bother them. Well, it's like, that's again, a story that you're telling yourself that it is inconvenient for them. And you can't start the conversation with, I know this is inconvenient for you.
No.
Hey, I really need your help right now. I really want to start feeling good about the way that I feel, a way that I look, you know?
Yeah.
I want to feel better. I want to feel stronger. I feel like I'm losing myself a little bit. I need your help. Awesome. Hopefully you're not married to an asshole. Hopefully you're married to somebody that's like, all right, I want to support my significant other, and I'm sure you love them and they love you. Like that's just the reality. Now on the single parent note, like bands are amazing. So it's like, maybe you have a little one, like we said, we're talking about nap time or this thing. Okay, well, maybe we just get a stationary bike or a Peloton, or maybe we just do some, you know, we have the bands, and, you know, as coaches, we're programming out band workouts. And so, okay, maybe this week you didn't get into the gym and do your full lifts, but you did something, you got at home and you got some movement, right? Because just like you can be on your kid is going to be on some form of schedule. Every kid is on some form of schedule, whether you know it or not, whether that's like, you know, in the afternoon, they get tired and they watch TV and play on their tablet. Cool. That's great. And maybe it's in the morning, they sit down and they're doing their homework or like whatever it is. And so just moving your gym time around that is important too. And again, I do have a lot of moms that are almost like, my only free time is the gym time, and it's super stress relieving. So I'm in there pushing myself as hard as I can. And it's all this and it's like, okay, well, I need you to pull back on that and go get some yoga in during that time. Cause that's the other thing too, is where it's like this mindset of like, it's my only stress relief is me walking 25,000 steps a day, you know? And it's like, think about what you could get done in all that time. You wouldn't be stressed.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a point where let your coach actually guide you, because your coach is looking from an outside perspective in, and, you know, hopefully too, that your coach again is asking all the questions. Like I would say that I know the three of us are, as far as like, you know, tell us about yourself. I always ask that right on an intake. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your job. It helps me create like a story about, in my head, of how things look, what life looks like for you. And here again, I know like the three of us, like we ask questions during, you know, intakes and during check-ins, you know, we'll jump on a call with a client. Like I know when I'm hearing, going through a weekly report, and like their life just seems thick. It just seems heavy, like it's like coming at them. And I almost feel like, again, like we talk about that, you know, I'm swimming right now, and then all of a sudden I feel like their floaties just flew off and they're kind of starting to take in water. I'm like, let's get on a call. Like, I just want to be able to hear you. I want to hear what's going on. But something I've shared before, and I say to often my clients, and I made a post on it, is I always say, or it was someone said to me, actually, Paul, he was on this podcast we released earlier, my strength coach. He said, treat yourself with the same professional courtesy that you treat others. That hit me like a lead brick, Because first I was like, do you know how much I place value in other people and how much I want to help other people? And that's the same thing I hear from my clients, whether it's them wanting to be present for their husbands, their kids, their friends, their sisters, their parents. They want to be present for all these people. And this is where, I've said before, they'll be present for and put so many people first, that it's not that they're on the back burner, but they're now falling behind the stove. And I always tell people, think about how much you place value in other people and other people's needs, and how much effort you put into doing the laundry, making sure meals are on the table, grocery shopping, fresh sheets, that their outfits are picked up, that your husband has food on the table, or your wife has food on the table, like all the things that you give others. Now, I want you to start thinking about what you're doing for yourself. And I think that placing boundaries in your day to say, I'm allowed to go to the gym, or I'm allowed to work out, however many times your coach has you, 3 times a week. I'm allowed to, maybe not hit 20,000 steps. My coach says, bring it down. Let's just live life. I'm allowed to do those things. I'm allowed to put some shine on myself. And that's not being selfish. And if anything, again, what we've said over and over again is you have to be able to put your own oxygen mask on first to show up for others, because otherwise you will hit a wall. And guess what? You're not going to serve yourself, and you're sure as shit not going to be able to serve anybody else.
100%. Yeah. I had a client a couple weeks ago. We had one of those calls because it was like, we just need to talk through this. And she was telling me like, well, this weekend it's, my son's birthday. And for his birthday, we're doing something called a yes day, where whatever he wants to do, like we do. And I was like, that's so cute. And then I was like, when's the last time you had a yes day for you?
Oh, wow.
I was like, I want you to put that on the calendar. It doesn't have to be this week, but this month you need to have a yes day. And she was like, she laughed, but she was like, you're right. And she did. And that day, like she chose to go for like a hike, like with friends, like, and, made it a day, for her. And I thought that was like, I don't know, that was just like really like profound for me. Like, wow, like you give so much. And, of course, it's hard to make the time, but, put it in the calendar, because like you said, you have to.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I'm going to use that, a yes day. Something I always tell clients too is whenever I say, like, for example, if I presented them with, hey, I want you to schedule a yes day for yourself. And then I say, how does that make you feel? Like right then and there, when I say, make a yes day for yourself, generally they're first going to tell me that it gives them anxiety, or it makes them feel guilty. And I don't know if I can do that. And I'm like, sit with that. And I want you to think about that for a second, especially when I tell them, hey, I need you to take, 60 seconds midday and just breathe for me. Just do some box breathing. And that's something I might have a client do depending on the situation. I just use 60 seconds of breathing. And when they tell me I don't have time for that, I'm like, think about what you just said. You just said, I don't have 60 seconds in a 24-hour day to breathe. And they're like, wow. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I think we might need to do some reevaluating on some things.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else, ladies, before we wrap this sucker up?
I think
we nailed it. I mean, I think it's just, like starting with what Sonia said, like if you guys are listening, maybe rewind and listen to that part. Because that's where it starts, is, like getting rid of the excuses and the stories.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Sonia.
You're good. I was just gonna say that goes for like everything in life. You know what I mean? Like the story I'm telling myself in this situation is XYZ. And sometimes stopping to reflect on that has like been a big asset in my life. Even like recently, like with just like co-parenting can be really fun, and it's kind of like my first reaction is like, bam. And then I'm like, cool. So the story I'm telling myself in this situation is this. Is that actually what's going on? You know what I mean? Or even like letting the person know, like, hey, the story I'm telling myself in this situation is that you don't support my goals as a significant other. And then your significant other is going to go, oh, no, I totally support your goals. Totally support your goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Show me.
Yeah. Yeah, truly.
Gotcha.
Truly.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, it's been real and it's been fun and it's also been real fun.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to attempt to try to stop this because I am the host. Okay, so if you already don't follow us on YouTube, please do that. Like and subscribe and share this with anybody. And also anything that you always want to hear about, please message us and we will definitely get into that further. Thanks so much, guys.